Hello, my name's Michael. Thank you for joining us for a little introduction to Bodhran workshops like we do at our festival typically. We're going to get some thank yous in here for the Arizona Commission on the Arts, the Flagstaff Arts Council, the Flagstaff Community Foundation, the City of Flagstaff, and Coconino County. All of these are granting organizations that help our nonprofit thrive and produce items, videos, festivals, and so forth to fulfill our mission of sharing the knowledge of Celtic cultures. Today we're going to give you a little introduction to Bodhran, which is a Celtic drum. This is a Bodhran. This happens to be the one that I play. And we'll talk a little bit about what they are, but the most important thing I want to do is I have some very capable volunteer students here today that we're going to get you doing the rudiments of hitting a rhythm on a very expensive bodhran, which is sort of
pizza box.
Yeah, sort of cardboardish, but it fills the job. So the bodhran is a rhythm instrument that is played in lots of Celtic music, Irish, Scottish, etc. And a few creative people play it ranging farther than that in styles of music. But this is sort of what a bodhran sounds like. Now, those of you that are tonal astute, you can notice that there's a lot of different tones that can come out of one drum. That's one thing that we cannot make happen with our pizza boxes today. But just in the interest of letting you know, if you get interested, that the bodhran has a lot you can do with it. My impression is that a bodhran is sort of like having a drum kit, but it's all in one. And the reason is you'll see my hand on the back of the drum kit, the drum head changing position. Same time my stick or tipper is striking different places on the drum head. And essentially, by moving my hand, you can make different sized drums. So that's just a little introduction. I shouldn't just be looking at the camera. I should look at my capable students. So let's dig in, and we're going to start without any music intentionally, but very soon I'm going to put on a couple of reels, which is one of the many styles of Celtic music that we play. And we also have very expensive imported koa wood / balsa, whatever we could find for our tippers for the workshops. So we'll go over how to hold the drum, how to hold your tipper, and then how to make some noise with it, okay? By the way, this is Joey, this is Landon, and this is Chris. You're capable volunteers. So, and yes, I will play a cardboard one too. So the way you hold a bodhran, everybody here is right-handed, I believe.
That's not right.
You're going for left-hand. You want to play left-handed, Landon? I know you sort of switch back and forth. Okay. Well, we can switch you if you need, but assuming that you're right-handed, you can play the clean side or the printed side. Doesn't really matter with these. I like the look of the clean side. So what you're doing is holding the bodhran against your body, against your torso. You really don't want your arm to be involved in that, and there will be reasons you'll learn eventually. And you can see that it's got a little bit of a slant to it. And the tipper you hold like a pencil, not quite in the center of it, but a little bit up from center. And what I want you to do is to hold it there and then twist your forearm and your wrist, because that's the motion that you're going to do. See if you can get yours pointed down a little bit and then do the twisting, and you'll see in just a second why. Very good. So, no fair making noise yet. So, what we're going to do is you want to strike your drum head with the end of your tipper, but you want to have about a 45-degree angle of your stick to the surface. That's looking good. You're a little bit shallow, so bend it out just a little bit. Yeah, and that looks like a good 45. And there's a reason for that. Surprise, surprise. So, go ahead. You're making noise. And it sounds like we're pretty much in unison. That's good. Joey, stop just a second. You're doing something that I see a lot of students do, is you end up getting to a 90 degree, and that will frustrate you over time. You want that 45. This is the 45 relative to your stick and the surface. Because if you start getting to this point, all you're doing is skipping across, and you can't control what you're generating. But see, look at your relative angle to the drum head. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. That's a 90. That's where you seem to be gravitating. But what you want to be is at a 45. That's much better. Much better. You'll be able to control it. And landing, you are going to the 90 degree now. It's a very natural thing to do. You see. Do you understand the angles that I'm talking about?
It's like a piece of a pie.
No, it's not. You're twisting.
It's where the stick is to the box.
Yeah, you were starting it really well. So keep your wrist straight. That's kind of the motion that you're trying to make happen. Remember your 45. Okay. And watch how mine is, the stick is relative to the surface of the drum. You can do it. Okay, we're going to put some reel on, just briefly. This is Natalie McMaster, who's a Cape Breton fiddler, very famous, but playing Irish reels. And what we're going to do is see if we can follow along. If I get it to play properly. Okay, now it should go. Now if you just listen first, what you're going to want to do is be the rhythm that helps all the players understand how to stay with this tune. Let's start just down. Remember to twist your wrist. Very good. Let's try and do it twice as fast, but staying with the tempo now. Like this. I gotta get it too. The second landing. Remember, it's a wrist, twist of your wrist. You really don't want to throw your whole arm. You guys keep going. I want to see who's hitting it. Very good, very good. I'm not meaning to single anybody out, but what I do generally during the workshops is go around when we're playing, and I'm lucky enough to have live musicians that help us, so I can sort of wave at them and they'll stop and I don't have to do this. But then I can go around and visit the students, and sometimes we get quite a few in those sessions. And I can personally give a little bit of instruction to each one. So Joey, what I see you doing is your arm is throwing instead of your wrist moving. And Landon, you got a pretty good wrist twist, but look at the position of your stick again relative to this surface. You start out that way, and that's very good, but then you end up doing like that. So all it's doing then is skating across the surface, and you can't keep your rhythm easily. Miss Chris is doing very well. Do you have any questions?
No. Does it get easier?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, of course it gets easier. But you've got good position. Everybody's hitting the beat. And the reason I'm coaching you about the wrist twisting is I used to do a lot of this when I started out, and it's really, you talk about it being hard, does it get easier? The twist of the wrist is a big part of making it work well for you. So let's play a little bit more on this same tune. Let's see if we feel like we are getting it. Remember, twist of the wrist, 45. Okay. Good job. You know what's hard is you're sort of trying to listen to yourself, and you're hearing the noise of other players, and that gets a little confusing. Fortunately, when we do Irish sessions, which when COVID's done, we'll be able to return to more regularly. And that's a gathering of Celtic musicians, and there's usually fiddles and guitars and flutes and whistles and fiddle, all kinds of instruments. But it's not courteous usually to have more than one drummer in that group. So this little cacophony that we're all trying to deal with to understand what you're doing on your drum, it doesn't happen typically in a real music session. So what I'm trying to do is get you to just understand the mechanics of it. Do you have any questions?
How do you get the multiple things that I see or I hear coming
hard.
from you? Yeah,
It's hard to keep up with the beat when it's going like fast.
I know.
Yeah.
And sometimes you skip it.
Yeah. So how do you make the sounds that you do?
Well, it's a little more advanced than just learning how to hit the drum with a stick, because there's a way to play with two ends of the stick, but that's really not anything that I want beginners to deal with, because it's hard enough to just to get a steady beat with that. And then the thing to do is to play along with music. And we can even give you one of these really expensive drums if you want to practice at home. And you play along with other music, and there'll be different tunes. Like at our house, there's lots of Celtic music, but you can find it easily on the internet. And just get that basic strike down. There, you're doing a good wrist twist. Think about your 45 degrees. There. Landon, you keep changing towards the towards the 90, and that gets you up. There you go. Good job. You can always start at the very basic beat. And then you're essentially turning that beat in half for this kind of a tune to get it to speed it up. You guys keep going. I'm going to get my drum out for a second. Well, that was good timing, wasn't it? Let's see what's coming up next. Now this is a little slower. This is might be an easier thing to master. Let's see if we can just hit the basic beat.
Billy grew into country way back in '83. Was there he first met with young Sarah McLean?
Keep going.
And the wild rose were born, and the pale flower was dawn, and it drowned springtime into Billy's life that day.
Keep that basic beat going.
Sarah, she could not see the daylight of reality.
This is a chance I can introduce that there's different kinds of tippers as well. Good job. A good trio hitting the beat there. Good. Any new questions? No. Are you an expert?
No.
Just
Are
a
you
beginning.
sort of interested in maybe trying it a little bit more?
Yeah.
A little. Yeah.
I was just going to take a minute. I talked briefly about the real Bodhran, the origins of the Bodhran. There's a lot of speculation about it, but one of the ones that I tend to believe the most is that there was a farm implement that was used in the old country that was used for winnowing corn or other grains. So the farmers would make a hoop out of whatever was available, and they would slay one of their goats. They'd get a goat skin. That would form a bottom They didn't have circular saws and all kinds of things to make those work, but nailing a skin onto that ring gave you something that you could throw your corn up in the air, and the chaff, the loose stuff you didn't want left on it, would blow off. And so that's one that I believe. This one happens to be deeper than most of them you will see musicians playing, and that was a choice that I made when I actually bought this good one. And I've been really, really pleased with it. And part of the reason this one's deep is I wanted to be able to put a microphone in this thing and play live, or maybe someday I'll get to record and so forth too. So a few years of playing beyond the pizza box, and you can be doing it too. Okay? And no more questions? All right, well, thank you for bearing with me. I hope I did a good job of teaching. And you watching the YouTube, I hope you're interested, and maybe this will give you some clues. And once we're back to having real festivals, we'd love to have you show up. Okay? Thank you.